So the bad news is that your football boots can break in a lot of different ways. But the good news is that I can help you prevent the most avoidable reasons for your boots falling apart, at least as quickly. In fact, everyone calls me the boot doctor. True story. Okay, that's a total lie, but I can still help you. And we begin with the most common reason for your football boots falling apart, which is using your boots on the wrong surface. Look, I know you've done it. You know I've done it. Everyone has done it. Using your FG boots on an artificial grass pitch, which absolutely tears it to pieces, leaving us wondering
what the F just happened.
It's like a tale as old as time itself. And it's gonna happen a lot more. But the thing is that FG boots have been built to be used on natural, firm grass pitches. So when you bring them on to an artificial grass pitch made of synthetic materials with, little plastic grass straws and rubber infield grains, it will do a lot of damage on your boots. I mean, when you wear this boot on a synthetic pitch, it will generate a lot of abrasion and heat, which is just like a murder cocktail for the upper and the outsole and everything in between. And it will hurt the boot a lot. They're just simply gonna fall apart. Whereas AG football boots, made for artificial grass, has been made with that knowledge in mind. So they are able to withstand the abrasion a lot better, meaning that they are more durable. And in case that they still fall apart, well, you're covered by your warranty, which you aren't if you use your FG boots on artificial grass. So if they fall apart, well, you're on your own.
Oh, no.
That's just the way it is. And I know you'll still use FG on AG, and I'm still gonna do it, but my best piece of advice is to use your boots on the surface that they were made for. Or even better, actually buy boots that are made to be worn on the surface that you play the most on. And another factor in your boots breaking could be that you don't take proper care of them, particularly if you've been playing in the wet, and even more particularly if you're wearing leather boots. See, if you've been playing in the rain or you've been cleaning your boots, they are wet in general. The problem is that the little stitchings and every area holding the boot together can start to deteriorate if they're wet or moist for too long. So obviously you want to avoid that. And you can do so by just simply cleaning up your boots, drying them well, and then let them finally dry naturally. That means don't put them on the radiator, don't put them in a heating closet, just put them out at room temperature, let them dry naturally. You can also chuck in a newspaper, roll it up, put it inside, because that actually absorbs all the excess moisture inside the boot to keep them nice and dry. And then of course, if you wear leather boots, give them a little bit of leather balm once a month to make sure that they stay nice and soft and actually also become a little bit water repellent over time. And the thing is that boot care doesn't have to be difficult. You just gotta remember that as a rule of thumb, a dry, clean boot will last you longer. Even just playing in dry conditions where my boots aren't dirty, if they're just a little bit wet or sweaty, I tend to take the insole out and just let them breathe, just to be on the safe side. And obviously, other things that hurts the boots, like, walking on concrete and stuff, try to avoid that too. What you also need to be aware of is if you get the wrong size of your boots. That might A, suck a little bit because it won't be as comfortable as it should be, of course, but it might actually also affect the durability of your boots. Because let's say that you get a size that is too big. That means that you have some dead space, some area of the boot that you can't really feel perfectly. So when you're running around, you might risk dragging that part of the boot that you can't really feel unnecessarily over the ground. And that leads to a lot of avoidable and unnecessary abrasion that will eventually wear down like the pivotal areas of the boot where it's been held together. Now, then on the other side, if you have a boot that is too small, it means that the upper has to stretch for your foot to fit in, meaning that it will basically pull from the sole and up to really stretch around your foot. And that will put a lot of unnecessary strain on the glue holding the upper and the sole together. And obviously the glue is very strong, but it can only hold up to so much. So if you pull and pull and pull and you keep wearing it, eventually the glue might go and the upper's gonna split open. And of course, having the wrong size boot is not gonna make them fall apart like that, but it might still be a factor. So get the right size. And of course, if you wear and use your football boots a lot, they will break a lot quicker. I mean, duh. But what I mean to say with this is that if you have only one pair of football boots that you use 2 to 3 times a week for training, then you have a match on the weekend, and maybe you even do some self-training on top, your football boots just will wear out a lot quicker, especially if all of that happens on artificial grass, in which case it might at least be a very quick death. But the good thing is that you can actually combat that. And what I would do is to make sure to have a pair of football boots for training that are really comfortable, but also a little bit sturdy so they can take a beating and be used regularly and a lot. And then you have a match day pair of football boots that just always feel sharp and ready and are in the best possible condition. At least mentally for me, matches are where I need to just feel sharp. Because doing it this way makes sure that you actually, the boots can share the load, and then hopefully for both of them just last a little bit longer, especially for the match day pair. Just get to divide and conquer, And the last thing is when you use boot hacks to help improve the fit or make them break in faster. Now, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of the boot hacks are really great, but you just gotta be aware that they sometimes also come with a little bit of a risk to the boot's durability. For instance, if you use the hot water trick or use like a hairdryer or a steamer to soften up the upper and help them break in faster, it might affect your durability because it's hard to really know when it's too hot. And the common mistake I see a lot of players doing is that they just use water that's too warm or, use a steamer, make it too hot, because they really want to ensure that the upper becomes soft enough to really break in nicely. But the thing is that if it becomes too hot, it might affect the glue holding everything together on the boot. And that's a problem. And as a rule of thumb, everything that involves moisture is the mortal enemy of boot durability. So if you use a steamer or water in general, just be careful, because it might affect the durability. I'm not saying you shouldn't do boot hacks, but you should just at least be aware of the risk and be careful. So if you want to avoid the inevitable sadness of your favorite pair of football boots finally breaking down, you can at least, postpone the judgment a little bit by using these tricks and a little bit of common sense. Because that's the beauty of it. It actually doesn't require much other than, just thinking a little bit. But you know what also doesn't require much? That is writing a question or a comment right down below. And of course also making sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And what requires even less, or almost at least, is to go to unisportstore.com and the link right over there and buy a new pair of football boots if your current one looks like this. And also, of course, if you just want to watch more boot videos, clicking the playlist right down there is easy peasy as well. And with those words, that was smooth. I'll be signing off. Cheerio.